Gary DeWall here, and this is Bridging the Week for March 16th to 20th, and today is March 23rd, 2015. Good morning. Spring began last week in the Northern Hemisphere, inciting optimism that warmer and sunnier days soon lie ahead. Optimism also reigned in the futures industry as a result of the publication of proposed rules by the Shanghai International Energy Exchange that heighten expectation that non-China-based brokers and traders will soon be permitted to trade the exchange's crude oil futures contract. Meanwhile, ICE Futures US was fined $3 million by the CFTC for allegedly reporting inaccurate trade price and other information to the Commission for 325 days, while the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority proposed a new registration category for algorithmic traders, top developers, and supervisors. We have a lot to cover this week, so let's get started. Last week, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission fined ICE Futures US $3 million for filing allegedly inaccurate or incomplete reports with it related to trading activity, prices, and delivery notices from October 2012 to at least May 2014. According to the CFTC, ICE Futures, quote, reporting errors and omissions cumulatively numbered in the thousands, end of quote, and affected certain data in the exchange's required reports to the CFTC, quote, for every reporting day, end of quote, on the 325 reporting days during the relevant time period. Moreover, claimed the CFTC, during the relevant time period and period of the Division of Enforcement's investigation into the exchange's reporting miscues, the exchange, quote, did not respond in a timely and satisfactory manner, end of quote, to inquiries from Commission staff from various divisions, including the Division of Enforcement, about the data reporting issues. The CFTC said that the exchange's reporting errors and omissions arose, quote unquote, primarily as a result of technology upgrades and data migration projects. The Commission acknowledged that, although there were problems during the relevant time with reports made by the ICE Futures to the CFTC, there was no problems with data published by the exchange on its website. In addition to agreeing to pay the fine to resolve this matter, ICE Futures consented to creation and appointment of a new senior position of Chief Data Officer who will be directly responsible for all regulatory reporting. The CFTC granted a so-called Part 30.10 exemption last week to the Hong Kong Securities and Futures Commission. Under this exemption, qualified brokers under the oversight of the SFC may apply to carry accounts for U.S. persons to trade futures products traded on the Hong Kong Futures Exchange Limited only. According to the CFTC's published order, Hong Kong's Part 30.10 relief does not seem to be broad-based and does not seem to extend to products traded on other non-U.S. futures exchanges outside of Hong Kong. Eligible Hong Kong firms cannot offer U.S. persons the option of not segregating their funds. I explained how the CFTC Part 30.10 bridging regime works in the article version of Bridging the Week on the www.bridgingtheweek website. Check it out. The Basel Committee on Banking Supervision and the International Organization of Securities Commissions delayed by 9 months the initial implementation dates for the mandatory posting of initial and variation margin for uncleared swaps by covered derivative users. The phase-in period for exchanging initial and variation margin on uncleared swaps will now commence on September 1st, 2016 instead of December 1st, 2015 for the largest derivative users. These are groups whose aggregate month-end average notional amount of non-centrally cleared derivatives exceed 3 trillion euros. The phase-in period for exchanging initial margin will continue for successively smaller covered entities through September 1, 2020, instead of again December 1st, 2019. Smaller uncleared derivative users will also be required to exchange variation margin commencing March 1st, 2017, instead of beginning December 1st, 2015. The CFTC has frozen the current residual interest funding deadline by when each business day, the so-called settlement date, Futures Commission merchants must post sufficient amounts of their own funds to cover their customers' aggregate under-margin amounts incurred on the prior day. Without this action, the deadline would have automatically been accelerated, from 6 p.m. on each settlement date to the actual time of settlement each morning by December 31st, 2018, unless the Commission had proactively amended the earlier deadline by then. The CFTC now commits to having a distinct rulemaking, including the solicitation of public comment, prior to amending the existing residual interest deadline, if at all. The Financial Industry Regulatory Authority has proposed to require the registration of personnel who are principally responsible for the design, development, or material amendment of algorithmic trading strategies, or who are responsible for supervising or directing such activity. Such persons would have to register as security traders, a new category of registration, albeit similar in concept to the current equity trader registration category. Comments to the proposal are due by May 18th. And finally, the Shanghai International Energy Exchange published proposed rules to effectuate the trading of its crude oil futures contract by foreigners based outside China. This publication follows the release in late December 2014 by the China Securities Regulatory Commission of proposed interim measures to permit foreigners outside China to access China's futures markets generally. The Energy Exchange's proposed rules set forth requirements for overseas brokers and overseas traders to access the exchange directly. Among other requirements, overseas brokers would be required to have net capital of no less than RMB 30 million, which is approximately $5 million US, be in business for no less than 2 years, and appoint a contact person in China. Overseas traders would have similar requirements, except their minimum net capital requirement would be RMB 10 million, approximately $1.6 million US, and they would not have to have been in business for at least 2 years. Both overseas brokers and overseas traders would be required to advise the Energy Exchange, quote-unquote, promptly if there was, quote, an occurrence of litigation or financial dispute, end of quote, or they were investigated by a regulator, quote, for suspected violation of laws and regulations, end of quote, among other matters. Overseas brokers and traders will be required to retain documents related to their energy exchange activities for at least 20 years. That's right, 20 years. Comment to due by April 18th, 2015. Well, that's it for this week's Bridging the Week. As always, there is more information in each article and more articles on the article version of Bridging the Week on the website. Check it out. Until next week, this is Gary DeWall. Have a great week. Enjoy the first full week of spring, and ciao.